In the world's ancient history, there was probably no other city as prosperous as Babylon. It stood for wealth and splendor. Its vaults were filled with dazzling treasures and gold jewels. Babylon, however, was not located in a lush tropical paradise, surrounded by rich natural resources and mines. Neither was it located on any trade route. The city was situated between the Euphrates River and a flat, arid valley. It didn't even get sufficient rainfall to raise crops. So how did Babylon become so wealthy? The answer is all of Babylon's resources and all of its riches were human-made. Babylon became the richest city in the ancient world because its citizens mastered the art of acquiring money, keeping it, and making their money work to create even more money. Against all odds, if the ancient Babylonians could amass great wealth, so can each of us. Akkad was a fictional Babylonian scribe who eventually became the richest man in Babylon. His story mirrors the story of Babylon itself, showing the power of taking one's destiny into one's own hands. The Richest Man in Babylon was published in 1926 by George Samuel Clason. It offers a timeless financial wisdom through a series of parables. These parables are told by Akkad, who found his to become the richest man in Babylon. 7 cures for a lean purse. A lean purse symbolizes poverty, something no one desires. Yet, many find themselves in this situation, struggling for years despite their efforts. At the same time, people who know the secret of building wealth seem to get rich effortlessly. Akkad divulges this secret and gives us 7 cures for fattening a lean purse. The first cure: start thy purse to fattening. As soon as money gets credited to their account, most people start spending it on things that they need or wish for, paying their bills, and splurging on luxuries. However, while we work hard to earn, we often ignore the simple fact: a part of what we earn is ours to keep first. The richest man in Babylon says we must pay ourselves first by setting aside a part of our income. There is no upper limit to how much you can save, but it should be no less than 1/10 of what you make each month. The first cure is similar to basic money advice you may have heard before. It says, save before you spend. Most people do the exact opposite. They try to save only after taking care of their expenses. This strategy fails because our expenses keep swelling to eat all of our income. So the first cure for a lean purse is taking the bull by the horns. As soon as the money hits your account, save 10% of it before spending on anything. If this requires adjusting your expenses, so be it. When you pay yourself first and set aside 10%, you will soon realize how powerful it feels to have a treasure that belongs only to you. As your savings grow, it will stimulate you. A new joy of life will thrill you. However, saving money doesn't require depriving yourself of life's pleasures and enjoyments. Cutting a few luxuries here and there can free up 10% of your income. For instance, canceling subscriptions that we hardly use or eating out less frequently can save us hundreds of dollars each month. Once 10% is saved, we can use the remaining 90% on what we want. The second cure: control the expenditures. Some people ask Akkad, how can a man keep 1/10 of all he earns in his purse when all the coins he earns are not enough for his necessary expenses? To which he replied that we must not confuse necessary expenses with desires. We and our families have more desires or wants than our limited income can afford. We first need to review each item we plan to spend our money on. The next step is to select only the necessary items or the ones that can be covered by 9/10 of our income. Everything else must be stricken out. So we must make a distinction between needs and wants. Our needs are the necessities like food, clothes, shelter, and everything else. Our wants include our desires for non-essential items or experiences. A car for transportation is a need, but a BMW is a want. Needs are basic and limited. Wants are limitless. So when you want to control expenses, we need to look at are expenses on wants that can be curtailed. In the second cure, Arkid again emphasizes that while controlling our expenses, we don't need to exclude everything we desire. Once our necessities are covered, we can spend some on luxury items that we desire as long as we save that 1/10 of our income. The third cure, make thy gold multiply. Arkid told his students that a person's wealth is not in the money they carry in their purses. Wealth comes from the income they build, the golden stream that keeps flowing into their purses and keeps it bulging. In his words, the third cure for a lean purse is to put each coin to laboring that it may reproduce its kind even as the flocks of the field and help bring to the income. A stream of wealth that shall flow consistently into thy purse. We need to create a stream of wealth that continues to flow even when we are not toiling and sweating. This is only possible when we can make our money work for us. In today's world, we call it passive income. Arkid himself started with a meager income. However, he soon realized that the only way he could get rich was by using his income to generate more income. So he lent money to Agar, a shield maker. Every year, Agar brought large shipments of bronze from across the sea to use in his trade. Lacking sufficient capital to pay the merchants, he would borrow from those who had extra coin. He was an honorable man, so Agar repaid his borrowing with high interest as he sold his shields. Arkid could lend this interest income earned from Agar to earn even more money. This was Arkid's secret of building an income stream that would never dry. The fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. Earning money is one thing, but keeping it is a completely different ballgame. Jesse Livermore was one of the richest investors and traders who had ever lived. By the age of 30, Livermore had amassed a fortune equivalent to over $100 million in today's money. By 1929, he was already the most famous investor in the world. In the stock market crash of 1929, Livermore earned the equivalent of over $3 billion in a single day. However, after this tremendous success, Livermore began making increasingly reckless stock market bets, and before long, he found himself in deep debt and ultimately filed for bankruptcy. Tragically, he took his own life in 1940. In the fourth cure of a lean purse, Arkid's advice is to protect our wealth from such drastic loss. Once we have money, we are often tempted by opportunities that seem to promise large returns in a short period. Often friends and relatives who are eagerly entering such investments urge us to follow. However, remember that the first sound principle of investment is security for your principal. Warren Buffett said that the first rule of investment is to never lose money. Is it wise to be seduced by the chance of high returns while risking all your capital? The penalty of risk is probable loss, so study carefully before parting with your money. People jump into investments that seem lucrative without reading the fine print. Moreover, we make investment blunders because we often get advice from the wrong people. Arkid's first investment was a disaster because it was such a hasty move. He handed his savings of over a year to a brickmaker named Asmer, who was traveling over the seas to buy rare jewels for Arkid. However, since brickmakers are not supposed to know about jewels, Arkid lost all of his money from his very first investment. But he soon learned his lesson. This may sound ridiculous today, but people often take advice from brickmakers to buy jewelry, at least metaphorically. For instance, according to a study by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, 60% of US investors under 35 use social media as the main source of investment information. Invest, but do not fall for lofty promises. Take investment advice only from professionals and know how to guard your treasures. In the words of Arkid, guard thy treasures from loss by investing only when thy principal is safe, where it may be reclaimed if desirable, and where thou wilt not fail to collect a fair rental. Consult with wise men, let their wisdom protect thy treasure from unsafe investments. The fifth cure, make thy dwelling a profitable investment. Many Babylonians raised their family in unfitting houses. They paid high rents to landlords to live in tiny houses where children have no place to play their games except for unclean alleys. Arkid told his students that no man's family can fully enjoy life unless they have a plot of ground where children can play on clean grounds and where their wife can raise rich herbs to feed their family. Therefore, Arkid advised his students to own the house they dwell in. When we set aside 9 parts of our earnings to live and enjoy life, we must explore if any part of those 9 parts can be turned into a profitable investment. If possible, such investments can help our wealth grow even faster. Owning our house instead of renting can be such an investment. Yes, this addresses the rent versus buy debate that we hear every day. According to Arkid, buying a house is more profitable than renting one. It's even okay to borrow money to buy a house than repay a small amount every month instead of paying rent. In Arkid's words, thus come many blessings to the man who owneth his own home, and greatly will reduce his cost of living, making available more of his earnings for pleasures and the gratification of his desires. This then is the 5th cure for a lean purse: own thy home. The 6th cure: ensure a future income. An individual who understands the laws of wealth must plan for their old age when they hang up their boots. So we must plan investments that can bear fruits for many years and take care of our retired life. According to Arkid, the houses and lands we buy in our active years can significantly appreciate in value over the years. Even small investments every month can lead to a large sum in retirement. The richest man in Babylon says, "This, then, is the 6th cure for a lean purse. Provide in advance for the needs of thy growing age and protection of thy family." While Babylonians had limited means to plan for their retirements, we have plenty of options now. One can choose to build a portfolio of stocks and bonds and allow it to appreciate over the years. Others can choose passive investment tools like ETFs or index funds. Moreover, we can invest in real estate or precious metals like gold to allow our savings to grow to a large amount by the time we retire. The idea is to plan to protect our financial future and that of our families. The 7th cure: increase thy ability to earn. Before sharing the 7th cure of a lean purse, Arkid said the following lines to his students: "This day do I speak to thee, my students, of one of the most vital remedies for a lean purse. Yet I will not talk of gold, but of yourselves, the men beneath the robes of many colors who do sit before me. I will talk to you of those things within the minds and lives of men, which do work for or against their success." Arkid then went on to share his personal story. In those days, when he was a humble scribe carving upon clay tablets for a few coppers each day, he observed that other workers did more than him and were paid more. So Arkid determined to work more efficiently to produce more work each day. More interest in his work, more concentration on his task, and more persistence in his efforts led Arkid to carve more tablets in a day than the others. Soon, his improved skills were recognized and rewarded. So the 7th cure deals with increasing one's ability to earn. When we focus on ourselves, our knowledge, skills, and expertise, we can produce more and better quality work that commands a higher price. The idea is to learn each day, improve marginally, and focus on ramping up one's ability to earn more. Warren Buffett once said, "Generally speaking, investing in yourself is the best thing you can do." Along with improving one's ability to earn, Arkid also focused on having a definite desire to accumulate riches. Everybody wants to get rich, but not many have a definite and quantifiable goal. Generalized goals are weak, while specific goals are more likely to be achieved. In the words of Arkid, general desires are but weak longings. For a man to wish to be rich is of little purpose. For a man to desire 5 gold pieces is a tangible desire that can be pressed to fulfillment. After he has backed his desire for 5 pieces of gold with the strength of purpose to secure it, next he can find similar ways to obtain 10 pieces and then 20 pieces and later 1,000 pieces. And behold, he has become wealthy. The 5 Laws of Gold. Along with unraveling the 7 keys to a lean purse, the richest man in Babylon goes on to share the 5 laws of gold. These 5 laws reiterate the idea of managing one's money, focusing on saving, investing in appropriate avenues, and taking advice from experts in investment matters. The first law. The first law of gold says, "Gold cometh gladly and an increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family." The second law. The second law of gold states that gold laboreth diligently and contently for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. The third law. According to the third law of gold, gold cleaneth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. The fourth law. The fourth law of gold says, "Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep." The fifth law. The fifth and final law of gold states that gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. Although the richest man in Babylon draws from the ancient lessons about money, these principles remain highly relevant today and will continue to be applicable in the future. Remember that money is governed today by the same laws that controlled it when prosperous people walked on the streets of Babylon over 6,000 years ago. Babylon is an outstanding example of our ability to achieve great objectives using whatever means are at our disposal. All we need is to swear by the laws of wealth and be disciplined enough to follow them to the T.